Bring you very important topics that aid your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. And today we'll be looking at a very important topic that isn't as flogged as it should be: malnutrition. Now, our guest to discuss this with us today is a team player set on transforming healthcare delivery in Africa. His journey through tertiary academia began at Case Western Reserve University, Cleveland, Ohio, USA, and he earned a bachelor's degree in chemistry from George Washington University. As a licensed pharmacist, he practiced in retail and hospital pharmacy, simultaneously attending medical college at Howard University, Washington, D.C., USA. And upon completion, he proceeded to Johns Hopkins University, Baltimore, Maryland, USA, for internship and residency in internal medicine. You can see that our guest is overqualified to join us to discuss malnutrition. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, and hello, Ijewere.
Thank you.
So while we're discussing malnutrition, I think it's imperative that we burst certain myths that are being spread about malnutrition. First of all, will be that when we think of malnutrition, usually, like we see a lot of people complain that the media portrays Africa in a very crazy setting sometimes, and that when you see children, you see black children with pot belly that look very thin, and they say that's malnutrition. You know, that some people have complained that that's the way we're being portrayed. So now let's talk about malnutrition. What's the relationship between malnutrition and hunger? Is malnutrition the same thing as hunger? Because a lot of people think when you're hungry, you're malnourished.
Hunger is both a physical and psychological state of mind. The thinking of lack or the absence of what I need for nourishment. Malnutrition is actually a very broad definition. Some may narrow it down to balance in food groups or categories of food. But let me step back and define it for our context. Malnutrition is both undernutrition and overnutrition.
So there is something as overnutrition?
Yes.
Wow.
Can you explain that, sir?
I could explain it in words or by simple demonstration.
Okay.
Well, overnutrition. Obesity is overnutrition. Pot-belliedness is overnutrition. And the simple demonstration is you stand upright. Can I stand?
Okay, just explain to us first.
Yeah. Okay. You stand upright, then you tilt your head and attempt to look down at the floor and see if you can view your feet.
Oh.
If you cannot view your feet, there's something blocking the view.
Benga is trying to look
while standing.
Okay, while standing.
Okay, we'll try that out. Okay.
So, most of us, yes, traditionally think of malnutrition in terms of the child, skinny hands, pot belly. But today, in many societies, including the advanced societies, such like the US of A, there's a high level of overnutrition, malnutrition. Look at obesity. We know there are factors where certain nutrients are lacking. So there's an imbalance in what one is taking in over a period of time, resulting in excess deposition of calories around the body. In the pot belly, in some cultures, it's seen as a sign of
enjoyment,
yeah, good living, affluence. That's also malnutrition. Overnutrition, malnutrition. You're consuming too much of a particular category of food and lacking some of the nutrients, especially the micronutrients that the body needs to make use of these calories.
Is it possible for one to be looking healthy and still be malnourished?
Yes. You'll find in some medical sources that they label diseases, some chronic diseases like high blood pressure and diabetes, as chronic malnutrition. So you could be slim, looking built, but it's on pills for high blood pressure. And in some sources, they'll say that's a sign of chronic malnutrition. He's had imbalance where he's lacked certain nutrients for a long time, resulting in increased, technical term, oxidative stress in the cells that line your blood vessels. As a result, they've hardened, and now you have high blood pressure, chronic malnutrition.
Wow. You know, we always thought that high blood pressure was a function of stress alone. So now diet as well and lack of certain nutrients can lead to high blood pressure.
Lack of certain nutrients, yes. Diet, certainly lifestyle is a factor. Even the environment. Stress is another larger topic for another day.
Okay, all right.
So what are the symptoms of malnutrition?
Symptoms, that is what the person says, not what you see objectively.
From a medical standpoint.
Okay. What the person says often tired, often don't sleep well, insomnia, often headaches. So there are a range of symptoms that the person may complain about, which we doctors who are acute to nutrition will know, there's things lacking in his diet. Fatigue is a major one. Some people come in with strange symptoms that you can't place into a typical medical conventional category. And if you look at nutrition, you find that they're lacking a lot of micronutrients, especially. So a few may lack some of the other nutrients. In terms of signs, what we see physically, obesity, pot-belliedness, the skinny hands, big belly, stunted growth for the age or for that age range.
So now when we talk about diseases around the world, we hear people talking, doing campaigns about HIV, they're talking about breast cancer, they're talking about Ebola. We don't hear much about malnutrition. How serious a problem is malnutrition?
It's a series of problems, and there are a lot of groups in the background that are actively involved in eradicating malnutrition. There's, I can't advertise any particular group, but there are certain groups who have WhatsApp presence, for instance. There are groups that have newsletters that talk about malnutrition. I was in Abuja recently, in Kaduna, for a program titled Nutrition Sensitive Agriculture, and it focused on malnutrition, organized by an NGO. So there are a lot of groups that are addressing it. It's just that the media is not giving it the kind of attention as we give Ebola, HIV.
Okay.
And what sort of diets? Because when you talk about having balanced diet, you look at the prevalent economic situation in the country, a lot of people are quick to say, we can't afford greens and salads and all of that. So what would you say it's an easy go-to, ready-to-eat meal that contains everything for balanced diet and to have proper nutrition?
Okay. Before I answer the question directly, let me take one of the suppositions in your statement. When it comes to health and well-being, there's a price to pay. You either pay it upfront with wise choices of what you eat and lifestyle, or you pay it down the line in the medical office with cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, and other medical conditions. So there's nothing like, I can't afford. You can't afford it here, you will afford it here when the disease shows up. It's that simple. There is a price to pay when it comes to health and wellness. Okay, what's a balanced diet? We recommend half the plate should be from the earth. Either greens, vegetables, if possible raw, or let it be raw and cooked vegetables.
For every meal?
If possible, for every meal. For example, with breakfast, you could start with fruits. With lunch, it could be a salad and your egusi or your, shok and tete. And then that's half the plate. The other quarter of the plate is your protein, whether it's your beans or your animal protein. The other quarter of the plate is your caloric mountain, the fufu, the rice,
all right,
the eba, and all.
So half the plate is veggies
yes,
from the earth.
Cooked and raw.
So veggies or fruits and veggies,
yes.
Half the plate. Quarter of the plate would be proteins. Then the remaining quarter, carbs.
Yes.
Okay, we'll look into practicing that. Now let's talk about, when does nutrition actually start? Now, there's certain people who think nutrition starts when a child is born. But I think we know that nutrition starts before the child is born, from the mother. How can malnutrition affect a pregnant woman?
Once you're pregnant, numero uno is that baby in utero, that child. And the child will take what it needs. If you don't have enough stores of iron, of calcium, of biotin, of folic acid, then the child too becomes malnourished. But if you have enough stores, the child will take that first. If you fail to replace those stores, either before or during pregnancy, then you go into a state of deficiency. God forbid you're deficient in folate and the child doesn't get enough, because the consequences are quite serious. So proper nutrition starts before conception. If the mother has had a rough lifestyle of alcohol, drugs, smoking, and you name it, and also misuse of drugs, medications, many of these toxins are stored in the body. Let me extend that beyond just drugs, alcohol, tobacco. The use of chemicals, a lot of chemicals, such as in the cosmetics, such as in the hair products, such as in the tampons and pads, which are unregulated. Many of those chemicals also end up being stored in the body. So if there's such a woman who has toxins stored in the body, now becomes pregnant, that will affect the child. Bingo.
Which is why I usually hear that when they say to a pregnant woman that when she's pregnant, she shouldn't apply hair color
Before
or
pregnancy,
anything.
once you know you want to be pregnant, you let go of as many chemicals as possible.
So those of us who are relaxing our hair, now we understand why there's a whole natural hair phase. Okay, we'll come back. We're still looking at malnutrition in pregnant women and in their children. So for those of you who, this is not just for the women who are pregnant, those who plan to be pregnant, those who have sisters or wives who are pregnant, stick around. There's something to learn. We'll be right back after this break.
It's a scent Nigeria. That means hello Nigeria in Tree.
Hi, my name's Amanda Portelwa. I'm from South Africa.
Hello, my name is Mimi Akinkube.
Hello, my name is Candace Nkotgisek. I'm from Cameroon.
My name is Ijewere Nanang.
My name is Efwa Osei.
And the most interesting thing I found about Nigeria is the extraordinary hustling energy.
And make sure you keep watching.
Hello, Nigeria.
We do it all for you. We do it all for you. Oh.
Welcome back. We're looking at malnutrition with Dr. Patrick Ijewere. And before we went on the break, we were looking at malnutrition in pregnant women. So you were mentioning that when a woman knows she's planning to get pregnant, she should stay away from chemicals and all sorts because they leave toxins in the body.
Yes.
And if she doesn't feed well, now the women who want, because there's this whole social media facade of snapping back. So you want to give birth and you want your body to come back to the way it was 2 weeks after. So they post pictures on Instagram and say 2 weeks postpartum. You know, my body snapped back. So the women who start to diet while they're pregnant, how sensible is this?
I had a mentor who would say, if you listen carefully to the question, the answer presents itself also. You already know. And people know instinctively. When you get pregnancy, it's all about the child. The issue of dieting or, trying to look a particular way for the camera is secondary. If you don't, it's all about the child. Once the child has come into the world, then it's about feeding the child what is right for the child's well-being, not just immediately, but long-term. We know some of the best immunomodulators, some of the best antibodies, some of the best protective chemicals or protective substances come from the breast milk. We can't match them in the things that we produce chemically. So again, your body during pregnancy and post-pregnancy goes into a state of taking care of number one, and that's the child that is coming forth. Post-pregnancy for 6 to 12 months, we recommend breastfeeding. Again, the issue of dieting shouldn't be a priority. However, we do know mothers who breastfeed and do it properly and thoroughly tend to have ease with losing weight.
Really?
Compared to those who do not.
Wow.
Talking about weight loss, a lot of people have jumped on the fitness facade. It's a good thing. And the generation that believe they're having a pot belly is a sign of affluence. Is slowly fading away. That myth is slowly being debunked. So we have a lot of fitness junkies. But at the risk of malnutrition, at what point do you, how do you balance it? Because you need to stop eating junk and some foods to lose weight. And if you stop eating, you run the risk of malnutrition. So how do you create a healthy balance?
If you allow me, God is brilliant in his design of this phenomenal engine machine called man. If you switch to the healthy foods, which are loaded with the micronutrients the body needs to consume calories, generate you energy, you will naturally lose weight. Your body will go into a mode where the weight will just gradually, literally slide off, fall off.
So you don't need to starve?
You don't need to starve. In fact, obesity is a sign of micronutrient starvation. Let me give you a story. This was from a mentor of ours. He was going, his friend, his neighbor, as a farmer, his neighbor was going on vacation and brought his cows over to graze on my mentor's field. My mentor was an organic farmer. While they were talking, about 15, 20 minutes, his cows, after about 15 minutes, they stop eating and they sit down. And the neighbor is puzzled. That's impossible. On your field, my cows are eating for 15 minutes and they've stopped and they've sat down in the grass. On my field, the cows don't stop eating. Guess what? The organic field is loaded with the micronutrients the body needs. And so within 15 minutes of eating,
You've had enough.
the cows are satiated. They are satisfied. Satiety centers say, hey, we've had enough. We've got all the things that we need for health. The cows stop eating. On the chemical-laden field, those micronutrients are absent. So the cows keep eating, because there's something called cellular hunger or cellular starvation. The cells are not getting those micronutrients that they need. So these will keep eating, and guess what? These ones get fat. These ones stay trim, lean, and more active. These ones need antibiotics and other things to stay healthy. These ones, frankly, don't need much of anything because their immune system is working in awesome.
Fantastic. All right, at what point, I know there's a difference between malnutrition and what's severe acute malnutrition?
Severe acute malnutrition. Let's use the deliberate examples. There's some people who go on like a, hunger strike and nothing. Severe and over a short period of time.
People.
You have those who are anorexic. Some of them psychological, others for cosmetic purposes. Both are quite dangerous. Both are quite dangerous.
Wow.
Whether it's purposefully or it's psychological. And as much as one can avoid it, parents, siblings need to just look at their siblings and such is going on.
And now, let's look at our diet, because malnutrition, basically we need certain nutrients from our diet. And there are tons of us that feel, okay, you know what? I don't really have the time to start chopping carrots and chopping potatoes and chopping all these things that will give me healthy food. So you know what I'll do? I'll go to the supermarket, I'll buy everything in a tin. So you buy the tin camera, you buy tin carrots, I beg your pardon, tin everything. Processed foods, are they really as healthy as we think they are? Or as many people think they are?
And GMOs.
Yes. GMOs, prawns. I'm scared of buying prawns in the supermarket because I just feel all of them are GMOs.
Okay, that's about 5 questions there. Let's take it.
So processed foods first.
Processed foods.
How much nutrients can we really get from processed foods?
The moment you begin to process, you are losing some nutrients, whether it's rice or it's corn. So processed foods already are nutrient deficient. That's one. Number 2, the packaging for processed foods. If it's canned food, my goodness, we know there's toxins in the can. Not just the aluminum for the can, but also the lining of the can, something called BPA, bisphenol A. What's that? It's a chemical that behaves like hormones when you consume it. It mimics estrogen in the body. There are other chemicals in there that create problem. Again, canned foods are also high in salt. So canned foods, number 1, they're processed, they're deficient in nutrients. Number 2, the packaging process adds chemicals that are unhealthy to the body. Now, the second question.
GMOs. Prawns. And all
GMOs. Genetic modified organisms. This is where science is used to alter the genes makeup in a seed, in a product. For example, they take genes from a lizard and put it into corn, or from a bacteria and force it into soybean, for whatever reason is given. There's concern that in the body, it causes certain imbalances. There's concern that in terms of nutrient availability in these crops, it may be as good as the natural one. There's concern that it triggers autoimmune or triggers certain reactions in the body.
So basically, they're not safe. Canned foods, tin foods, they're not dangerous, but not as safe as rather taking something fresh from the ground. I think we should even invite you again so we can look at how we can distinguish these things, because you just go to the supermarket and you don't know which is which. But thank you so much, Dr. Patrick, for joining us.
Thank you.
To enjoy more of these our Ogbonge videos when you just watch, press this button to subscribe on top of our YouTube page. You go love her.